Anto Budiardjo, President and CEO of Clasma Events, the brains behind ConnectivityWeek. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Dennis. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Really looking forward to ConnectivityWeek this year. Last year, I remember you predicting that an energy revolution was going to radically change the way buildings were designed and constructed, and by all indications, I have to say that appears to be coming true much more rapidly than most might have expected. So I'd say you nailed that one.
Yeah, I think it has come through in spades, as it were. I mean, it's incredible to see what's happened, especially in the last few months since the Obama administration has come to take charge. And it's not just in the building context. Obviously, in smart grid and in many different areas, it's just becoming a phenomenal sort of movement that people are trying to sort of figure out what does that mean to them. What is their role in energy in the future?
This year, I understand the theme is much more about information technology and energy.
Yeah, and it's really what. I think the term smart grid, I think people are starting to hear that, mainly because President Obama and a whole bunch of other people are saying it, which is a great thing. So people understand that that there is a role to make the grid smart. What does that mean? And also, what does that mean in the larger context of energy? So I use the term smart energy just as often as I do smart grid, which is really talking about how we should really be using energy in a smart way. And if you dig into that, you really start to think that to use energy and to generate, transmit, and use energy in a smart way, you really need management, information management in a real-time basis. And obviously that is best done by information technology, by the internet, by all of the technologies that is enabled the internet, such as this interview that we're doing over the internet. So the focus this year of Connectivity Week is really how we can apply information technology for energy, meaning for energy management in different contexts and different energy consuming areas, as well as for managing energy in terms of the transactions and the business of selling and buying and selling energy. And the whole infrastructure, the whole sort of value chain from wherever energy is generated, here we're talking specifically about electricity, all the way to where the energy is being consumed actually in the device. So it's really the whole chain that we're focusing on, and what type of information technology and devices and smart services that will actually be enabled or required for that vision to come through. So energy, information technology, applying that to energy is really the focus of this year's event.
You actually have several conferences in one here.
Yes, we have, I think, 11 conferences in one, which is a little bit, can be a little bit confusing, but there's a reason for the madness. It's because if you take this big picture of smart energy going everywhere from generation to consumption, you really need to include many different industry segments. So, for example, you need to include all of the different consuming segments, meaning commercial buildings, residential, industrial, and infrastructure. Infrastructure meaning roads and other things that's kind of connecting all of these different consuming entities together. So in this slide we have BuildCon that focuses on commercial buildings, HomeCon for residential, InCon for industrial, and InfraCon for infrastructure. So each of those sub-conferences, as it were, deal with a specific slice of this big puzzle that we're talking about. And then we have the other sort of slices talking about smart grid. We have this Gridwise Expo that we do in partnership with the Gridwise Architecture Council and NIST. And when we do the DR Expo, which we partner with Lawrence Berkeley National Labs and the Brattle Group, we're working on a partnership with Oasis, who's involved with Internet Standards, to put together an Oasis component to Connectivity Week. We also have a component of cybersecurity that we're working with the folks at CERN, at Carnegie Mellon, as well as OPC and the Zigbee Expo with the Zigbee Alliance. So there's lots of different sort of pieces or slices of Connectivity Week. Each of them are kind of focused on slightly different perspective of where this vision of smart energy applies to whatever the slice is, whether it's commercial buildings or demand response or Zigbee, whatever. So there are different kind of sub-themes going on, and yet there's an overall big theme in terms of how collectively the common thread to all of these components of Connectivity Week is basically two things. It's information technology and energy. Information technology, it's about how we can control and manage energy generation consumption, and energy is obviously, we're talking really about electricity at this point.
How many speakers do you have on the slate for this year?
We expect to have about 180 speakers, maybe more. I think 180 will be as many as that we really like to have, because, I mean, that's a large number. But that's obviously, again, in all of the different segments that we've talked about.
Who are some of the headliners then? What are some of the highlights?
We have 4 keynotes that's lined up right now. So we have Ellen Powell from Kleiner Perkins. Obviously, they're one of the major venture capital outfits in the world, I think they would argue. We have Ed Lu from Google. Ed Lu is an ex-astronaut, but he's also in Google. He's actually looking after the power meter program that they're doing, which is related to smart grid. We have Bob Metcalf. Obviously, he's the founder of 3Com and the inventor of the Ethernet, and he'll be talking about his vision of what he calls the Internet, which is energy, information technology for energy, the same kind of things I've been talking about before. And the last of the keynotes that we have right now is Yuval Lowy. He's a very interesting individual in his own right, but is very interesting because he's a software development guru. And I hadn't quite sort of anticipated having a software development guru really being enthusiastic about energy. But he's done a lot of research and has really sort of discovered that energy is going to be the next big thing from a software development point of view, from applications that software developers are going to develop. So therefore, he's championing and he's evangelizing this notion, and he's going to be talking to that at the keynote, as well as driving one of the tracks on cloud computing, which is another sort of interesting part of the event.
Anto Budiardjo, founder of Connectivity Week, president and CEO of Clasma Events. Thanks a lot for doing the interview today.
Thank you, Dennis. Always a pleasure talking with you. Bye.